My name is Manuel Zehr in Western language, but in Taiwan, everybody knows me as Cao Manuel. So it's also my ARC, my Alien Resident Certificate. Well, I've been living here in Taiwan 15 years, 3.5 years in Japan, 2.5 years in Korea, and 1.5 years in China. So I sometimes feel more strange towards European cultures and their nationalism. I give you a simple example. Like my building, 85 Sky Tower here in Kaohsiung, via CAF, CAF, they built the light railway system in Kaohsiung. Jessica is the project manager. She calls herself Basque. Her supervisor is Spanish, and one of the engineers is Catalan. So you see, one passport, so many identities, and it's so complicated with Europeans, which is hard to understand for any Taiwanese. Why they make a fuss about this and that, and why is it different? It's highly complicated for Taiwanese because in Taiwan you don't discriminate. Taiwan didn't have colonies. There's no reason to discriminate somebody because of gender or skin color. It's uncommon here. But in Europe, it's quite common. For example, you're from France, to deny someone a job entry just because of the area where his or her address is. That's all. And I think the biggest problem when it comes to business is trust. Because if you don't have trust, everybody will fight about the money. I give you money because Taiwanese are not investing. Taiwanese do all the hard work. What do you do with my money? That's all about it. It's all about this money. Oh, I got some here. $1. Supposed to bring me luck. It's to rebuild this trust. The Europeans want European standards, which means everything in a written form under a contract, which is 100% solid. So, for example, particularly for West Europeans, Danish, Germans, Dutch not so much, they're more kind of deal maker, but British, they want contracts which are clear. Taiwanese side is quite simple. They want money. I work for you, pay me. You are unsatisfied, train me. So if a person is not qualified enough or makes some mistakes, but is willing to learn, I say, okay, send you for training for 3 to 6 months to Europe and you start from scratch again. Because at the end, it's important to have local Taiwanese employees. So my company, for example, is member of Wales Marine Energy Association in Wales. Also applied for Scottish Renewables, but they have to change my country name from Province of China to Taiwan. Until they do this, I will not join as a member. I'm also a member of WAB. WAB stands for Wind Energy Bremerhaven, and I will fly on Sunday to Bremen to attend the Windforce Conference 2022. And I'm also invited to have a dinner with the Minister of Economic Affairs, Robert Habeck. And then I will present him the business card of Vice Minister Zheng, so Vice Economic Minister under Wang Meihua. Nobody knows him, but he's actually dealing with all the energy issues. Oh, very simple. For two reasons. First of all, when it comes to renewable energy, everything depends on the environment. So Taiwan has anything you need to harvest renewable energy. Strong sunshine, particularly here in the south. Then you have, of course, wind. The coastline, particularly Hsinchu area, Miaoli County, there are strong winds along the shore side. So you see a lot of onshore wind turbines for that. And that's very hard to imitate. In Europe, we build offshore wind farms, and due to climate change, in some wind farms, there's no more wind. So it's a lost investment. In Taiwan, we're stable all the time. The water depth is 6 to 12 meters, most parts the government assigned for offshore wind development. So it's not deep. You can do bottom fix. Bottom fix means you have a foundation below it, or monopiles, or pin piles, or there are many different structures how to fix a wind turbine in the water. They are all placeable in the Taiwan Strait. So it makes it super, super attractive for offshore wind. What makes it so attractive? Of course, the European thinking is because the history is based on colonization and conquering other countries. So now this policy has changed into conquering other economies. So Europeans always believe they're much better, more advanced, and superior to the Asian counterparts. So they come in, it's like, I push you aside, I do it my way, you're too stupid to do it yourself. And but that's their first approach always. They always come here, and if they come on their own, they don't want to talk to locals, they just want a contract. But there's one important thing nobody understands outside of Europe. People working for the European Union or the United Nations, there's always this three-level approach. So if you're good on national level, they keep you as a politician and you don't leave the country. If you fail badly, they send you to the European Union. So all the people I talk there, they kind of, how to say, leftovers of a country. So their own country doesn't want them, so they send them away, and they're not very qualified. They're simply a vote inside the EU Commission when you get assigned to this position. And I talk to people who are in charge of marine energy, and they push the bill a little bit forward because the national governments were pushing them, but they barely understood the topic and they didn't have any interest. They want to stay in big 5-star hotels and get the cost paid by the European Union. They get a lot of money because there's nobody above them to control them. So I often talk, there's one organization, the Ocean Affairs Council of the United Nations. Their guy is a Portuguese guy. And he asked me to write an abstract. And when I tried to present my case, the representative from China always interrupted me, Professor Wang, really noisy guy. And I said to him, you have to follow protocol. It's my speaking time, and you should mute your microphone. And they didn't care because China donates a lot of money to the United Nations and just keep him interrupting. And so I only can benefit in one way, which is the European Union. They have to publish the data because it's European Union funded money. All the data is freely available. Well, I personally support it much more than offshore wind. I think it's much more realistic because offshore wind requires huge installation vessels, which Taiwan doesn't have. So we have to come in, be chartered, because really a lot of money every single day. That's why you see so many delays in the offshore wind construction. So we are supposed at this time, it's 2022, we should have 2.4 gigawatts. We are now at 132 megawatts. And Taiwan doesn't have oil and gas industry to source from, and Taiwan doesn't have a maritime industry to source from too. So that means you don't have seafarers, you don't have seamen, you don't have any capabilities to actually do these huge constructions in the water. And tidal power doesn't require that. Tidal power, the devices are much smaller. Of course, they don't produce so much energy like wind because the industry is still in its infancy and developing. But you can install them, you can deploy them by using the vessels Taiwan currently has. You can use the infrastructure and the resources you already have in Taiwan. And tidal power doesn't require so many personnel. You must understand the difference between wind and water is 700 times more intense than wind. So because it's 700 times more intense than wind, the tidal turbine doesn't need to spin with the same speed like wind. It goes quite slow. No. But my approach to the government, and I keep telling them again, less regulations when it comes to producing energy and disturbing energy. So let companies, I want to have my own power grid. I want to sell to big consumers. Thai Power doesn't even want to serve because they have to subsidize the electricity. They're losing money. So I say, change the law, but I can supply them. Have a PPA, power purchase agreement with them, and I can compete in a free market. I don't know why the government's so afraid of free markets. I said, of course, you have your role. I still need you as a government. I cannot have my police. I cannot have my military. I cannot have the entire infrastructure of a country. So your role as a government is to play a moral role. I need laws. I need regulations. What is the environmental impact? What are the labor standards? What actually means green energy? And make me reliable to produce reliably energy, to supply it in time with the right amount. But besides that, please leave me alone. I don't want regulations for every single bit. I mean, sometimes the government just goes too deep into things. Like I got this week trouble because someone said my employees are working over hours unpaid, and I talked to them. They said because some of the machines, they need to change oil, and so they had to work 7 minutes longer. So why I have to deal now with the labor department about 7 minutes? But they take it serious. Yes, always. There's always chance for improving. Let me add one more thing here, which is I know because Taiwan is a democracy, we have freedom of speech, so we like to complain, to nag on the government, swear at them because we have the freedom to do so. But I tell you, European utility firms or governments are not much better. So every single government has their own issue. Did you know that Belgium is running a nuclear power plant, which is outdated and could melt down at any moment in northern Belgium? Most people don't know. It's good to have a government who slaps you on your hand saying you're doing something wrong, but then we also have to work on a solution. So this mentality has to stop, that people complain and just vote for the other party, because it won't change anything. We have to work towards a solution and benefit for everybody, not to say, this party is bad, this minister is from this party, so next time we elect someone else. It doesn't work like this. We need mechanism to sit all together with all the stakeholders and find a solution together to make a deal and mutual benefit for everybody. I think it's much more important.
Thank you so much today.
Thank you too. It was a pleasure talking with you.